All right, time to take a look at the papers, the front pages of some of these select national dailies this morning. To give you a sense of the stories that have been reported today, the ones making the front pages. We start with a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. So here's what it looks like for today, 1st of February 2024. CSOs to Tinubu, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso's exit from ECOWAS poses security threats. What must be done to make the Naira rise again? Reno Mokri. I mean, I thought he was just an opinion kind of person. I don't know if he has the requisite financial or economic background to, opine on this, but everybody has an opinion about something, so I suppose that goes. If you want to read his thoughts, it's available on page 3. Amid insecurity, NEF, that's the Northern Elders Forum, Ohanaeze, civil society organizations angry over Tinubu's private trip to Paris. The presidency says he's on top of the situation. First Bank Holding appoints Otedola board chairman. Wike's issue not novel, PDP intact according to Governor Fintri. Religious sect laundering money for terrorists according to the EFCC. Naira drops to 1,400 Naira at the official market. Senate summons CBN governor over free fall. BDCs close shop today in Abuja. All right, very interesting takes there. Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper for today now. The front page of the Nation newspaper. Otedola is FBN Holdings chairman. Government to fix marina, other Lagos shorelines. And CBN worries over banks' excessive forex exposure. Naira depreciation. Senate invites Cardoso. Nigeria does need some answers to the burning question about why the Naira is falling into a bottomless pit. Obaseki, firms seal 228 billion Naira deal on Benin-Asaba Expressway. More on that on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. EFCC traces 7 billion Naira fraud cash to religious group. Agency uncovers faith-based groups laundering money for terrorists. I think that's not the punch, really. I think the punch is when the chairman said, they were stopped by a court order from further investigating the matter. And I think that's what would more worry most Nigerians in relation to that story. Also on the front page of the Nation newspaper, below the nameplate, or rather at the bottom, is Supreme Court lambast ex-Adama Rec Hudu Ari for his, quote, irresponsible criminality. The Supreme Court there is showing some emotion about what happened in Adamawa. Right, these are some of the stories. You can follow a lot more. There is a heartfelt story there that you can track about what happened in that secondary school in Ekiti following the abduction of some students by terrorists who are now demanding 10 million naira on their captured victims. The Punch newspaper is up next, so let's take a look at the front page of the Punch. Tinubu directs Attorney General of the Federation, Lokpobiri, to end $1.3 billion oil block dispute. Shareholders excited as Otedola becomes FBN, that's First Bank of Nigeria Holdings chairman. What about customers, though? Are they excited? More on that on the pages of the Punch newspaper. Abductors flagged Ekiti school children. This is according to proprietor. Or flogged, rather. I beg your pardon. Oh, my goodness. It's just really heartbreaking. Really. CBN orders banks to sell excess dollars in 24 hours. Are there excess dollars in circulation? Or supposed to be in circulation? Banks may sell over $5 billion, says official. Cardoso faces Senate Tuesday over Naira free fall. And you can see some of the pictures there from the devastation in that church fire in Lagos. And the story goes, House of David loses multi-million naira Lagos church to fire. EFCC probing Nigeria Air deal, according to the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. Ekiti Obas threatened to invoke Yoruba gods against kidnappers. I say go for it, really. Let's go traditional. And if that solves the problem, sure, why not? Makinde gives companies with explosives 72-hour ultimatum. And what happened in Bodija is still fresh on the minds of most Nigerians following that devastation and the loss of lives and the livelihood of most people. Finally, we take a look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper for today. Similar stories. CBN frantically tightens news on banks' forex operations as well as speculators. Who's going to win at the end of the day? History shows that the market always wins, but let's hope CBN wins this one for all our sakes. AFCC traces 7 billion naira to religious bodies, alleges faith leaders laundering funds for terrorists. Monarchs killing. Oni George call for community policing, input of ex-service chiefs. Reps set December 2025 to deliver new constitution. Well, that's good news. Northern groups tackle Tinubu over withdrawal of 3 nations from ECOWAS. 1 in every 10 extremely poor Nigerians or people live in Nigeria, says World Bank. I mean, at this point, we're just sounding like a broken record. We know this already, don't we? Poor preparation logistics stall student loan scheme. Yes, it was supposed to be this January, this year, but unfortunately, I guess they're not done dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Well, let's get some insight into some of these interesting developing stories. Joining us this morning is Editor-in-Chief of Deadline Nigeria newspapers, Malan Nasir is joining us this morning to provide some context and some background information regarding some of the big stories this morning. Malan Nasir, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
Right. Where do we start from? Let's start with the big one, insecurity. Everyone is talking about it. However, there is a political undertone, and I dare say it started with the former vice president and the man that went head-to-head with Tinubu and came second in the presidential election last year. In reaction to that, Northern Elders Forum, Ohanaeze, civil society organizations seem to share, some of those sentiments, saying that the president should not be out of this country at this time when many Nigerians are, reeling from the impact of this growing insecurity in the south, in the north, in other parts of the country also. Your sense of, what this actually means?
Well, incidentally, it tallied with what I actually said last week when the presidency issued the statement that the president was embarking on a private visit. What I said then was that, there was no information. Actually, they denied us all the things that we needed to know, because if we to be told, this is particularly what the president, is going to do in France, probably some of the questions we are now asking wouldn't have even arisen. And just like the former vice president said, you can't, he actually accused the president of playing fiddle while the nation is swimming in ocean of insecurity or something to that effect. And then now the Northern Elders Forum, Ohanaeze and CSOs are basically saying the same thing. Probably I would have loved to hear also what Afenifere, since we have made it like original reactions to what the president did. I would have loved to see what their own take will be. But going forward, it's things like this that allow people, to be able to come up with all sorts of rumors, things that nobody even knows where they are coming from. So honestly, the presidency going forward, like I said, should be clear. Anytime something like this is coming up, like I said last week, I don't know what private trip means. What do you mean by private? A president embarking on a private visit when the nation is literally demanding his attention. And so if going forward they allow us to understand what the president will be away from, the better for all Nigerians.
And do you think this is politicizing the whole conversation, or is this an honest conversation about what is expected of the commander-in-chief?
Well, yes, I saw a number of personalities who have spoken on this, trying to say that some people have already entered campaign mode and what have you. Well, you allowed it. That's basically the fact. If you give them the chance, of course, they will want to play politics. What do you expect politicians to do? If you give them the chance, that's exactly what they will do. So I don't think it's about politicizing the issue. It's about the president giving the opposition and other Nigerians a cause for concern, because so many people have already started reading meanings into the president. Some are saying, no, he's there for health reasons. And I also saw the presidency trying to downplay that by, releasing some pictures of the president with, is it Boala, who visited him in France and things like that. So honestly, I don't see it as politics. I see it as the presidency not doing what they are supposed to do.
But isn't it also true that, running a country is not a one-man show? That, while he was still here, this insecurity was there, even before the inception of his administration, that, making it all about the president's presence in this country is an oversimplification of the situation.
Well, to an extent, that's true, but, he is the president, and there are so many people who...
Is it for symbolic reasons?
Yeah, for symbolic reasons, certainly, because there are people who will want to act only when the president is there to see, what they are doing. If they know that the president will not even see, will not, get to see their efforts, then why make them in the first place? So honestly, I think, yes, if all our institutions are working the way they are supposed to, probably we may even go autopilot without requiring the services of the president, unfortunately.
Right.
But now that we have a president, these are things that you swore to uphold things like this. So for you to be away when we are literally looking for you towards you for guidance, honestly, I don't think it's good.
The presidency's response is that, first of all, Atiku's comments were reckless, and that now, regards to everything else that was said afterwards, the president is on top of the situation. Do you think that that answers all the concerns that Nigerians have expressed?
Honestly, I don't think so, because we all have rights to be reckless with statements like this, because you have like I said, you have given him the chance to come in. If there was nothing like this, probably he will have waited, for a sleep somewhere for him to also latch on the situation. But now that you are giving him things like this, of course, even if you are accusing him of starting the 2027 election campaign, well, you gave him the chance.
Okay. The governor of Adamawa State is speaking on the developments in the PDP. When asked, he said, listen, everything is fine. It doesn't matter what Nigerians think is happening with the PDP. Everything is fine. Everything is under control. Wike's presence in the APC government does not bother them. And that, he's not the first person who is in the opposition party that's working in the national government. We've been here before several times in the past, and Nigerians shouldn't make a big deal out of it. Do you think that there is some truth to that, comment, or is he glossing over the real issues?
He is certainly glossing over the real issues. He's playing politics, even though this is pure politics. But perception is everything. If you allow people to think that the PDP is not a serious party, that's what they will get away with. But if you are saying what we are seeing is actually not the reality, then you should come out and show us how what we are thinking of is actually not the reality. Because my thinking is the PDP is not, showing itself as a credible alternative to the APC. Because if you cannot put your house in order, if there are people that need to be sanctioned, sanction them. Why are you dilly-dallying? If you need to take action, take action. But right now, it's like they are trying to see how not to rock the boat, so that they will end up without probably a party by the time we'll reach 2027. And there are all these talks about some of the opposition parties coming together to see how they can confront the APC.
Okay, maybe a PDP is playing dead. Who knows? Just so you can, deceive other parties to make it look like they're not, under one umbrella, as the case may be. But yesterday we were all, perplexed to some extent. Those who were not privy to this information, that the EFCC has uncovered a connection between a religious sect, to use the words of the chairman, and terrorism financing, money laundering, and terrorism financing. Doesn't seem so far-fetched, but we're wondering what led to the non-prosecution of this particular matter, because as he did say in his speech that before they could even get things in motion, they were stopped by a court order. So he seemed to be laying credence to the conversation that even our religious organizations are a part of the problem. Many would say we know this already, it's an open secret. But what are your thoughts about this revelation?
Well, I don't like, heads of agencies talking about issues that are like still on the fire, still cooking, Why should you tell us something that you still leave us to continue guessing? Because you've not told us.
You think this is an open wound?
Well, probably our legal, judiciary correspondence and what have you. This is an assignment for them to actually
to figure out who is
see.
involved.
Yeah, already I saw one of the papers mentioning that they traced 7 billion to a church also, and then the second one they only said a religious group. So you allow Nigerians to just guess, and if it is something that is still before the court that you are trying to maybe set aside so that you can continue with your investigation. What happens to all the things that we know institutions do? You could have leaked, something like this to show Nigerians that, these are some of the problems that we are having in our quest to rid the country of corruption and things like that. But to just, this is like trying to hug the headlines so that maybe you are saying something that will guarantee you, being part of the cover of newspapers, and somehow he has succeeded in doing that. What he has not succeeded in doing is in reassuring Nigerians that this is something that they are really working on, and they are likely to get to the bottom of it in the next shortest possible time.
Do you understand, his frustration that, the society is not honest about fighting corruption? It's almost as if we're not all on board. If religious groups, not all of them, granted, but if religious groups are also involved in undermining the society by engaging in illegal acts like money laundering, for instance, and terrorism financing, that in itself says a lot about our society, doesn't it?
Well, sometimes when we talk about religious groups, what are we actually trying to say? Are they not people? The fact that they are just part of a religious organization does not mean they are not humans. They are also susceptible to all these human failings that you see. And that is why we have, somebody, to lead the fight against corruption. And when the president decided to settle for Olu Koyede,
right.
Honestly, it's because he has seen, maybe his ability or his capacity to deliver on that mandate. So honestly, I think that is what we should be hearing from the EFCC chairman, rather than, coming out to complain, just telling us about your frustrations, like even putting doubts in our minds that maybe at the end of the day, you may not.
It's a hopeless endeavor.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't think this is the way to go about it.
But what about the courts, though? I remember this is like re-echoing what former President Muhammadu Buhari said, of his frustration about prosecuting corruption in this country. He says the courts are his problems.
Honestly,
because and it does appear that there is some credibility to that argument.
That's very true. Honestly, our courts, and even by extension our legal practitioners, they should worry about their position in the Nigerian project. Why should you issue any what do they even call it?
Injunctions or orders
to stop, an investigation. This is an investigation. Nobody is saying that you are as guilty as charged. No. Allow them to do their work. But our courts are, even though we don't know the information that they acted on for them to reel out, those injunctions and what have you. But honestly, they should worry about, their place in the Nigerian project, because once the people believe that, they cannot get justice from the courts, or the courts cannot be trusted to do what is expected of them, then maybe they will just be receiving salaries and then nobody will be respecting them.
I've never seen a bottomless pit before, but if there is one, I suppose that's where the naira is is right now, falling and continuously falling, and it appears there's no stopping it, despite everything that the CBN is doing so far to stop this free fall of the naira. Every week we continue to see new lows being set as a record. What are your thoughts about all this going on? And now we understand that BDC operators are closing shop because they say everything is going digital now. And as we do know, it's either you evolve or die in this modern economy. But what are your thoughts, first and foremost, about the naira free fall?
Well, from what I can see, the CBN is still struggling to come up with like a workable solution to this problem. Because for you to say like banks should sell all the excess dollars in there, what does that mean? And if the banks are to sell them, who is going to buy them? Can people actually afford it? And I saw a newspaper yesterday saying even at the official, for the first time, since the Tinubu government came into being, like the official rate, even went above the black market rate. And, that's a first. And if we are seeing that, then it means only God knows, where the naira will end or be in the next few days. But honestly, I don't like you telling us something today and then changing it tomorrow. I also saw experts trying to say that rather than do all this, maybe we should go back to the Buhari era, maybe decide to ban some things from accessing dollars, because right now, even in Nigeria, people are using dollars to do transactions. Why should that be the case?
Yeah.
Our means of transaction is the naira, so why should you require...
Do you think there's a further dollarization of the local economy?
That's the fact, because even schools, people have been saying, this is not the first time people will be making all these allegations that even schools are now charging in dollars, and parents are like, obliging, and then the government is not doing anything, probably because if they want the dollar, they have access to it. But for the average Nigerian, honestly, that's not the case. So I hope very soon we will get to find a workable solution to...
Do you think the Senate summons is going to lead to some kind of solution? Or is this just one of those lip service, eye service kind of thing that, it's just another interactive session that amounts to nothing?
Well, the CBN governor may not even go there, because there is a precedence. They have told us a number and again that Emefiele, they summoned him a number of times, but he refused to show up, and nothing happened to him. And this is the same thing with the current president, current governor. I don't know what exactly he will be telling them that he has
told the
Nigerians. And if there is a solution to it that Nigerians need to know, I don't think he needs to go to the Senate for him to do that. This is something that he should do, because he also has a name, he has a reputation, which he wants to protect in any way. So I don't think the Senate interactive session or whatever they call it, I don't think it will lead to anything significant.
Maybe let him do his job, and he's good as his job. Maybe he wouldn't need to go to the Senate in the first place. All right, before we wrap things up, let's talk about the ECOWAS crisis, because more opinions are coming out in regards to what the impact will likely be, and that Nigeria is at the receiving end of the security challenges that may arise as a result of this breakaway from the regional bloc by ECOWAS, Niger, Mali, by Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. What do you make of this? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Already, we understand the quagmire we're in security-wise, but what does this breakaway from these three countries mean in terms of complicating the security challenge within the region?
Well, Nigeria is certainly at the receiving end. There is no argument about that, because if you look at, for instance, our border with Niger Republic, it stretches from Sokoto to Maiduguri to Borno. That's like 1,000 plus, kilometers. And right now we are still having some challenges, stopping all these arms dealers, from smuggling weapons, through our borders. So without the cooperation of Niger, certainly we'll end up with, ECOWAS is basically Nigeria, because if you look at the population, if you look at the resources and whatever you can come up with, it's certainly about Nigeria. So Nigeria should find or should lead the charge, to see how they can handle this matter, because even though I've had so many diplomats, so many experts, explaining the fact that all these junta leaders are actually doing it to frustrate ECOWAS from, their ability to checkmate them.
Yeah.
That's true, but honestly, we should look at the bigger picture. Nigerians will suffer if this is allowed to go without being addressed.
Do you think that there's a chance for a bilateral relationship after, if the withdrawal succeeds?
Yeah, I think so, because just like the diplomat you featured yesterday, is it yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday, or he actually explained that, so you don't even have to make it in the open. You can go through the back channels to see how you can handle this, because it has serious implications, not just in security, but business and other issues.
Right. Madam Nasir, thank you very much for the insight. It's been a very interesting one, hearing your thoughts on some of these developing issues today. We're going to have to leave it here for now. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you.
I appreciate you very much for stopping by.
Thank you.